think it's underneath, Tim.
I don't think you're going to get to the blog. No.
You give a thumbs up when you're all ready.
If you want to go there, happy to.
Good evening and welcome. Brenda Lee, and you have a colleague with you. Perfect. I've known Rose since before we could probably walk and talk. So welcome. So you have 10 minutes for your presentation, and we have about a 5-minute Q&A period following that. And then we'll have a hard stop because we do have other items on the agenda. Okay? All righty.
Go right into Q&A where we're kind of limited on time.
Have you thought about how you're going to age within your community? How about your family members and friends? What could the next chapter of their life look like?
Tim, is there a way to
The
turn up
fact
the
is
volume?
that New Brunswick is aging. By 2030, nearly half the population will be 65 or older. At the same time, urbanization is straining housing, infrastructure, and healthcare. Statistics show that most people want to stay in their homes or communities. Furthermore, social isolation is as harmful as smoking. We also know that a lack of transportation limits quality of life, and elder abuse affects 1 in. The growing need for age-friendly communities in New Brunswick, and demonstrates why it's so crucial at this pivotal time.
Age-Friendly Active Communities New Brunswick, or AFAC-NB for short, is a dedicated nonprofit organization working in conjunction with the Department of Social Development. Our mission is to inspire and assist communities in achieving and sustaining recognition as an age-friendly community in New Brunswick. In addition, we work to strengthen awareness of the demographic trend of our aging population.
Started by the World Health Organization and in collaboration with the Public Health Agency of Canada, age-friendly communities were established in 2007 and continue to be supported by both organizations today. The research and development of age-friendly communities spans over 3 decades. This research revealed an aging population that is compounded by a reduction in birth rates as well as an increase in urbanization.
As a result of these findings, the province of New Brunswick launched the Age-Friendly Community Recognition Program in 2012. This program is aimed at providing enhanced support and encouragement for all communities throughout the province to attain age-friendly community recognition.
The goal of the program is to promote health, well-being, and quality of life for older adults, which contributes to the overall well-being of the entire community. This is a comprehensive strategy to overcome challenges and embrace the opportunities pertaining to our aging population and urbanization. The age-friendly community framework encompasses 8 key domains of an individual's life. These domains are categorized as physical environment, social environment, or personal well-being.
The Age-Friendly Community Initiative takes a proactive, preventative approach to improve living conditions now and in the future. This globally recognized framework, supported by the Government of New Brunswick, ensures communities are designed to promote healthy aging. Managed by the Department of Social Development, the initiative raises public awareness and fosters inclusive, healthier communities for all generations. It is one of the most effective ways to address the challenges of an aging population.
While older adults enrich our communities with wisdom and experience, age-friendly communities benefit everyone, not just older adults. They promote social inclusion, improve public health, and enhance the overall quality of life. An age-friendly community fosters intergenerational connections and has significant socioeconomic and financial benefits. These communities are more inclusive, supportive, and resilient, making them better places for people of all ages to live and thrive, both today and tomorrow.
The concept of neighbors helping neighbors holds a special place in my heart. Living in a New Brunswick community, I have the privilege of experiencing this kind of support every day. Age-friendly communities embody this concept and so much more. They foster respect, social inclusion, employment opportunities, encourage civic engagement, and provide accessible information. Furthermore, these communities prioritize access to community support and health services, creating a foundation for well-being and resilience.
So how can your community become age-friendly recognized? AFAC-NB has created an onboarding package and step-by-step guide to assist you through the process of prepping and applying for age-friendly status, as well as the requirements to maintain your status after recognition is awarded. We're here to support you, and we're excited to start this journey with you.
Now is the time to build age-friendly communities in New Brunswick to support a better future for all of us. Sorry, can everybody hear me okay? Great. So step 1 of the program to become a New Brunswick recognized age-friendly community is to pass a resolution. And that's why we're here this evening, presenting to Mayor and Council to ask you to pass a resolution to start on the path to become an age-friendly community. It's an ongoing journey. It's not something that has to be established within 6 months or whatever. It's just saying that going forward, you're going to support and look at your community with an age-friendly lens. So step 2, I guess, does pertain to Mayor and Council on some level. It's getting the Age-Friendly Community Steering Committee off the ground to establish one. If Mayor and Council had someone that they thought would be a great candidate to chair such a committee or wanted to put some names forward, but that's really the commitment required of the Mayor and Council. But we do also ask, if possible, that one member of council sits on this committee or a staff person. It's recommended a member of council because then they can act as a liaison going forward between the two. The rest of the steps are all conducted through the Age-Friendly Community Steering Committee, and it would be for the town of Quispamsis. In your materials that I sent over, there was some suggestions there on a steering committee and who you would look at within the community, or, I mean, obviously you could advertise and see who brings their names forward that would want to sit on the steering committee. So it's an ongoing journey, as I mentioned. It can be delayed gratification. You know, it may take years to bring some items to fruition. Depends on the citizens, because it's a citizen-based initiative. They tell the steering committee what they feel they need in their community to live a successful, happy life, and that's where the action plan is derived from. Obviously, council would still be able to control that. It's in the instructions is that they're to come back to council for final approval. Right now, the province asks that every 3 years, you go back to them and reapply to become an age-friendly community, to be re-recognized. It's a way for them to make sure they can help to maintain the integrity of the program, that all the steps are being followed. It is every 5 years, or 3 years, but we're actually working with the department to get that changed to 5 years, because some committees feel that their time could be better used implementing the actions than doing an application every 3 years. So that's what we've done. Again, it's your steering committee would continue to have community engagement and share the success stories. I mean, obviously the municipality would be welcome to do that as well. I just wanted to reiterate that we are here to support communities, whether it's pre-recognition or post-recognition. There's various things. One thing that we do have is a $2,500 financial contribution for startup costs. I think I sent an email out to everyone identifying that starting in 2025 we would be offering these, because sometimes the steering committees find it difficult to get going and to do the initial assessment and of the community, because it can involve town hall meetings or a survey or even just going door to door or sending out information through another means. So we do offer that. Okay, we've now got some time for some question and answers. I hope that wasn't too lengthy a presentation.
No, I appreciate that. And we'll go all set for about 5 minutes, and we'll go to Councillor Luck, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for your presentation. Personally, I think that this is a fabulous initiative. You know, just looking at some of our previous plans, we know that young families are decreasing, and, you know, the stat that you shared that, I don't know if it was double the amount seniors by 2030. That's only 5 years. That's only 5 years away, which is pretty scary.
Yes.
I know based on some of the data that we had, I'm trying to think where I saw it. By 2036, we're going to actually double from 18% to 32% of people over age 65. So it's coming to a theater near us. So anyway, thank you very much for bringing this to our attention. One of the questions, or one of the things you had mentioned is, you know, the the role of council is really to do the initial, I can't remember the name, the proclamation, or, okay.
Yes.
And then to put a committee together, but the committee is really supposed to be resident-driven with just one member of council for that connection.
The liaison, yes.
Yeah. Do you have any examples of other communities that's how it's functioning? Because I think everyone interprets the age-friendly, it's been going on along for a while. Perhaps in the beginning stages, everyone was kind of learning and taking their own spin on what it looks like. But if that's the intent, I'm just wondering if you have any communities that it's really truly resident-driven, and also, because I guess when I, shared with council, I don't see it potentially costing us any more than what we'd normally be spending. It would just be looking at the lens, or using a lens of, thinking of basically universal design and, inclusivity for everybody.
Exactly.
And just to complement our strategic plan versus not run off to, and change what our priorities are. But anyway, yeah, so if you have any examples of other communities that are doing that where it is resident-driven and it's not costing the towns or cities a fortune because now all of a sudden they have all these extra projects, if you can give some examples of that so it's a bit more tangible. Thanks.
Sure. So a couple that come to mind would be Eastern Charlotte, for example. They have one counselor that sits on their committee, and she attends a few meetings just to act as a liaison. They're actually just getting ready to apply. So their initiatives are, I think there's one initiative that has to do with public signage on buildings that the citizens identified was a problem. And if it's the responsibility of the municipality, obviously it's going to come back to the municipality. If there's a problem with the sidewalks and accessibility, then the citizens deem, okay, this is critical, we need this fixed as soon as possible. Because there's 8 domains that they look at, but what they recommend is doing like 3 actions every 3 years, or attempting to do so, depending on, a lot of people are finding transportation is an issue or housing is an issue. So looking at those 3 actions over 3 years, and it's up to them to create partnerships. And there's an action plan form that's provided by the government, and it says who is responsible for this. And the assessment team will send it back to me and say, if it says municipality, 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 they'll say, no, that's not how, you need to go back and talk to the committee. They're confused on something. So unless, like I say, it is something that does pertain to the municipality. The other obligation would be that the incorporated entity would be the municipality. So if they were applying for a grant or some type of funding, then it would have to go through the financial department of CAO or whoever. One benefit to having applied for the age-friendly community recognition with the province is that your application's basically done, I've been told, for the grant, because it's just pretty much copy and paste. Because you've done all your homework, you've done your assessment, you know what gaps are needed or why you need this, and you've done a citizen survey or town hall or whatever. So yeah, it does speed up the process, but that is the thing, because the municipality is the incorporated entity to handle all the finances. So does that answer your question?
Councillor Miller, please.
Thank you, Worship, and sorry for being late, but I have read this prior, and plus it was similar was presented to us a couple of years ago.
Oh, great.
So my question is kind of the same questions I had a few years ago. So there's as long as you're age friendly and not designated. So to be designated, there's a lot more robust. You have to have so many meetings. If I read through the protocol, what you need to do, committees and things like that. And it also will take up, I know we're talking about community-led, but eventually staff will be involved and a whole bunch of other people as well, correct?
No.
Or it's just going to be purely community-led this time?
Yeah, it's the steering committee and the citizens that drive this initiative. That's why it's so successful. That's the key, or the integrity, the framework of the program.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
perfect. And because to me, right now, we're doing pretty much everything we can. So we're trying to get transportation, which is another discussion, right? Because it's only in really 3 communities, 4 if you include Edmundston. We've got the Qplex, we're putting in more walking trails, we're paving more and more trails for people to get on, or if not paved, we're doing other things. Recently, there's been a seniors housing complex, or it has been, I don't know if it's 100% passed yet, but on Hampton Road that Judy Lane is opening. So, you know, when you say there's $2,500 grant, so what is the total cost for this? Because there's obviously a cost.
It depends on what the citizens deem is critical or needed. So what they'll do is your steering committee will do an assessment of the community. What do we have? What's working? What's positive? But they'll also go to the citizens in various modes. Some people say just one-on-one conversation. But your steering committee should have connections with other citizen grassroots groups. And really, it's important to include the younger demographic as well, because we're all aging. And if we don't do something now to counteract this, there's going to be implications for them as far as tax base and socioeconomic and anyways down the road. So it's wonderful that there's infrastructure and great things happening in Quispamsis. You have beautiful nursing home facilities, and there's all kinds of alternative levels of living, independent living, at Shanx. Anyway, so these are all great. But at the end of the day, this has to go to the citizens. What's missing? It's about your steering committee then deciding what 3 actions are most critical and what they can take on at that time. And then they start building partnerships. Like, we have one community now that's the steering committee themselves are looking at purchasing a van for the disabled residents can travel to Moncton for dialysis or whatever. And right now, they had urban rural rides in their community, but they have no volunteers. The program wasn't a fit for them, so now they're working to counteract that. They're not going to the municipality and saying, you need to buy us a van. They're fundraising and purchasing this van.
Okay,
So, this is a citizen-driven initiative, is how it's explained to me, and it works from the bottom up. And these are all great things that the town is doing, and they're going to be great, benefits to an age-friendly community. But it's would be things more driven from the top down, where this needs to come from the bottom up.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I guess I'll defer it over to our CEO. My comment is more, we need to do this stuff. I totally agree. I don't think we need to be certified. I just think to go through all the certification, to me, as long as we're doing everything we're supposed to, that's more important than having a certification that says we're one of the 16 that has this. We just, if the residents are happy, that's the big thing, and we're doing it. So I'm in for doing all this stuff, just not having, the certification, if it becomes a lot of work for staff, then that becomes a challenge. So I'll defer to our CAO for that.
And that's fine. I'm not
Thank you,
sure
Councillor
how it
Miller.
would become a problem for staff. However, as long as the framework is maintained, and you follow the research from the WHO and Public Health Agency of Canada and run it the same way, then there shouldn't be a problem. But why wouldn't you want to then tap into the resources of networking with other communities? Like right now, I just had a community that's struggling with communication that's very close to the area here. So I put it out into our network group, and they all came back with great ideas. And I sent them all off, and we meet quarterly, and we have an in-person conference once a year. That's also part of the strategy, is networking with others. And I mean, that's not to say you can't reach out to them. They probably would still help you, but it's more of a community, I guess.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. Deputy Mayor, we've got a couple of minutes, and
Okay, I'll try to be real quick. Thank you for your presentation, Brenda.
Thanks, Mary.
I'm just trying to figure out a couple of logistics questions, and then I'd like to make a comment. So you don't work for the Department of Social Development?
No.
You're a separate entity,
Yes.
and you provide a service. You take this in your house and you take care of it, and so we still have to work through the Department of Social Development?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yes.
okay. So that was one question. And I had a question for staff. Do we have anywhere in the town where there's a designation? Does anybody know? where we've designated the town to be this or that.
Mr. Watson?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you and to the Deputy Mayor and others. Although I'm not familiar with the deep history, obviously, I would offer that the question of community designation is one that I would recommend Council consider as a policy question, because there are some broad implications to designating. And to Councillor Miller's question around resources required, that was part of it, but also making sure that we are living our values of being truly inclusive in our approach, and to avoid any inadvertent exclusion of a community by virtue of designated one community. So all to say, I think there's a policy implication here that I would welcome some discussion on at around the table.
And I could just finish with my comment?
Sure.
And thank you for that. And I think you're doing great work. And I believe that, I think the provincial government was on the right road to doing this. I believe that it got maybe a little convoluted, as Councillor Miller has alluded to. Maybe we could do it a little simpler. But I would be very interested, and I would even move that we develop the framework, terms of reference of what it would be like for us to develop an advisory group for seniors. And so I would be more than willing to work on that with anybody in the staff. My last question is who does the committee report to? They have to report to council, right?
Your steering committee, like the town of
The steering
Quispamsis,
committee, who would they report to?
to council. Like, once they develop their action plan, like, for example, Eastern Charlotte is tabled for approval tomorrow night. So it'll come before council and they'll approve it or they won't. And then
I can see lots of benefits. I can see where, the citizens group, and one thing is to manage expectations. It's good because we can't get a list this mile long that this and this and this, because we just, we have a budget process that we follow. And so it's managing expectations, which is sort of keeping me away from this. And the other would be, but then a benefit I could see is more communities connecting more, like Shanix and the Lions Club and the Legion, and all those areas, all those communities are coming together as one. And so that's why I said I would be more than willing to make a motion to move that we develop, staff develop a framework and bring it back to council as to what it would look like. Or
Deputy
that's
Mayor,
the
just
only
on
thing I
that
can
note,
see.
I would caution doing such a motion off the floor,
Okay.
because that does mean that once that motion is passed, we immediately have to set the wheels in motion for staff. And right today, I know that we have lots on the hopper for staff as far as planning and so forth with the spring construction period coming in. So I wouldn't want to tie the hands of staff right now. So if we could say perhaps we will look further into this as a council.
That's fine with me. I just meant that, not going down the designation road, but that we would start bringing all our eggs together, putting them in one basket and seeing exactly what we have in the community and how we can make that work. And, to make our community, I don't know if it's the word appear more age-friendly. I think we are. But I do agree. I think there's lots of work that we can do to enhance the lives of the older adults in our community.
yes.
I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. And thank you very much for your presentation. So we're going to leave
If
it
I
at that.
could just comment to
Sure.
that, just,
Um,
sorry.
Go right
But-
ahead.
And that's creating more work for staff, and that's what this is not supposed to do. So this is supposed to be given over to your steering committee. It's citizen-run, citizen-driven. When the citizens feel like they're connected on whatever, whether they nominate somebody to be on the steering committee, they're going to feel involved and they're going to get behind it. And this is meant to work from the ground up. And it's wonderful things that you're doing here in the town and everything. And obviously, if there's any way we can ever support anything that's improving the lives of older adults, which improves the lives of the whole community, we will do so. But that's just all the point I wanted to make. Like, that's what we're trying to kind of avoid. And like I say, it's meant to be not the municipality that gets burdened with all the things. It's your steering committee and device people, okay?
So thank you very much, Rose and Brenda, for coming in. Nice to see you again, Rose. And we will have, I'm sure, further discussions on this. And we will be sure to contact you and let you know at some point, or I will contact you and let you know where we stand with it.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thanks
Thank
very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Item 4B is the Bylaw Review Committee, Bylaw Review Framework, Staff Report from the Town Clerk. Ms. McGinnis. Thank you. Have a good night.
Through you, Your Worship, just to summarize the staff report. So the purpose of the bylaw review ad hoc committee was to examine the existing bylaws, identify the priority to review them, and then make recommendations to council. It was felt that this type of framework would ensure a consistent way to stay on track during this project. So the committee compiled a list of the current bylaws, eliminated from that list bylaws that were identified for review already, and also removed ones that didn't require review. So for example, stop up and close bylaws. They're kind of one and done kind of bylaws. And then with the remaining list of bylaws, council, committee members prioritize those. And then we compiled the list for your review, and that's in your package. So today, the bylaw review committee is recommending that council approve the prioritized list of bylaws for review, and then direct staff to support council by bringing forward draft amendments for review in that priority order. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a motion there before you. Councillor Bigger, please.
Yes, I have a question, but I'll make the motion. I'll move that Committee of the Whole under Business Arising recommend that council approve the prioritized list of bylaws for review and direct staff to support council by bringing forward draft amendments for review in priority order.
On the question, Councillor Bigger.
Thank you. I just wondered if, I noticed that bylaw 39 is listed here twice, and there's a distinction under dangerous unsightly premises. One is resolution and one is AMD. I just don't know what AMD means. In the list of bylaws, the 25 that are listed in the priority ranking.
On the question? Deputy Mayor?
I tried to go through a lot of these bylaws, so I knew exactly why they had to be changed or why they're coming forward again. So I just wondered on if one should be moved up a little further. And the reason was, we're, in May, will be a year out from an election. So I thought if anything to do with council needs to be dealt with, perhaps we should deal with it now and not in January or something before an election. So that was just I noticed composition of council was down lower. That may not even change, but I can't imagine what's in the bylaw that we might have to change on that one, but it's on the list, so there's something there. So that was my only concern, that maybe we should, if they're easy, just let's get them through and not be dealing with them in January. Thank you.
Councillor Olson?
Thank you, Worship. Relating to the Deputy Mayor's comments there, I think a motion would probably be more in order to have the council's remunerations reviewed you know, for the next election. If it's gonna be looked at, that's the time to do it, you know, before the next election. And that would be number 12 or 0118, but that's just a comment. That's,
Thank you. Mr. Watson?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to other members of council as well. Certainly appreciate the conversation tonight and recognizing this is your first look at this list for discussion. And if detailed changes are contemplated, we're happy to defer to May 6th, give you some extra time. That said, the points around council and committee bylaws, specifically procedural, remuneration, and composition of council, are easily moved, and planning advisory committee, are easily moved to the top of the list if that's council's wish, recognizing to your point that, you know, there is an election coming and getting those things squared away as priority items. I mean, if that's the only change that is contemplated, we can probably accommodate that. If I'm looking gently over to the clerk to see if we can accommodate that. If so, that's great. And if not, then maybe more detailed conversation can happen on May the 6th, just in the interest of time.
Council, what is your desire? Would you like to move to first and second reading now?
I would move, do the amendment to add those, to move those up to the top, and if staff thinks that's okay, then good.
There is a motion on the floor, yes. I was just waiting to hear what the councillor, what Deputy Mayor wanted, and then to ask you if a friendly amendment would be in place just to move those three up. Councillor Bigger?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you. On the question, please vote. Councillor Miller, are you good?
Yeah, I voted. I voted twice, actually. Just like a regular election.
Motion carried 6-0. Okay, item number 4C, proposed code of conduct, bylaw number 068, review and discussion, staff report from Chief Administrative Officer. Mr. Watson?
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, this is your second time seeing this one. Just by virtue of the, and staff report's unchanged from that original presentation, so no change there. But what we are interested in doing is making sure that you're comfortable with us having reflected the discussion from last time accurately. So the document that you have before you tonight has the red changes, which was previously agreed to, and then on the basis of discussion, blue font is what's being suggested as changes tonight. So we'd recommend that unless there are egregious errors or omissions at this point, we move to first and second reading in our main session tonight, but welcome any conversation in the meantime.
Deputy Mayor Scryer?
I would move committee of the whole refer to council. Oh, I'm sorry. I somehow jumped. Oh, yes, it is. Sorry. I would move committee of the whole refer to council under business arising the draft code of conduct bylaw number 068 as presented for consideration of first and second reading.
It's been moved by Deputy Mayor Scryer. On the question, Councillor Thompson?
No.
Councillor Luck?
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have a few questions. First, I really want to thank the CAO for the very user-friendly track changed. It really does help when we're reviewing it, so thank you very much for that. I just had a question around the rationale of changing the 30 calendar days on page 8 to 60. So I'll tell you maybe my questions and then I'll pass the floor over to, so that was one question I had. Another question I had was on page 10, where it says council will apply the principles of progressive discipline, escalating the level of sanction for similar matters that have been dealt with within the last, in the same manner in the preceding 18 calendar months. I just didn't know if we should clarify, like, is that escalating, let me see, for similar matters? So again, would that be that has been formally brought to council under the code of conduct? So I just felt like there might be a little bit of clarity there. So that was my second question. And then my third question on page 9 in regards to the 4 options, when it comes to depending on the nature of the complaint, council may, after the initial review, so we can basically dismiss it as invalid, we can determine that the complaint is best referred to an informal resolution, and then basically authorize further review and investigation of the complaint by the committee consisting of the mayor, the deputy mayor, and a member, or, you know, kind of a mix of others depending on who the complaint is about. And it says, let me see, and they'll investigate and include, and the review shall include, the investigation shall include a review of related documentation, discussion with the complaintiff, and a discussion with the member if he or she is willing. And then I guess the last one would be really go to a third party. And I guess I'm just looking for clarity on if it's serious enough for an investigation after it's come to council, when, like I'm looking for when would you ever go to option 3 versus option 4? And, you know, is it, you know, would we want at that point, if we feel like there's more investigation needed, would you want to say, you know what, it's beyond our pay grade, we're going to actually give this to an unbiased third party at that point to do an investigation? So anyway, those are my 3 questions, and I'm just wondering if I could, through you, Mayor, to our CAO, if I could get some clarity on that. Thank you.
Mr. Watson?
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to Councillor Luck and others. Yep, for sure. The time extension for receipt of a complaint from 30 days to 60 days was in response to a question that perhaps the 30 days wasn't long enough. I wouldn't say we did a deep analysis to consider what number was right. So if 60 days doesn't feel quite right, then we certainly be open to some further consideration about that. Recognizing though too that having temporal recollection of what has happened is ebbing every single day after a potential situation has occurred. So not wanting that to go too long, but recognizing that 30 days might be a little shy is probably my best explanation on how we landed at 60. Your other question, sorry, Councillor, your second question was around
Progressive discipline.
the progressive bit. Thank you. So yes, we can certainly add clarity that it would be similar matters that have been dealt with formally by council. So not just an allegation or an informal, but rather formal and confirmed issues dealt with by council. We can come up with some language there for sure if that's council's wish. With the same member, of course.
With the same member.
Yes, yes, of course.
And with notification in file, so that any time that there is any kind of a breach, then there'd be notation made in the file. And also, I'll just add, Mr. Watson, if you don't mind.
Of course.
I'm on a board right now where we have 90 days to deal with issues. And sometimes that's not long enough, especially if you get somebody that's away for 2 or 3
Yeah, but
months.
keep in mind, it's not to deal with them, it's just to make the initial complaint.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
there's a kind of a big difference, because I
Yes,
agree, like, you
absolutely.
don't want it to drag on, but I think to report it, like, you know, again, that's kind of I just didn't know if 60 was a little too long, just for the initial, okay, there's an issue, not the investigation, not anything else, just really.
And Mr. Watson, are you finished?
Councillor, your last one, correct me if I'm wrong,
4 sections.
the 4
Yeah, on
sections.
page 9.
Yes, and whether or not we would want to maintain the option to investigate internally versus automatic referral outside. I'm a little reluctant to suggest removal of the option to handle things internally and automatically defer, but I mean, certainly we take council's direction on that one. I would suggest that our review of other similar codes of conduct do typically include an option for internal review, but again, certainly willing to take council's direction there.
Can I just follow up on that?
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just trying to find it now, and I can't find it on the page. But I had a question last week about, we had a suspension couldn't last longer than a certain number of days, or according to the Local Governance Act. And I'm wondering if we ever got to get a look at that Local Governance Act, and what the timeline was. I have it in my notes back here that I asked,
May I interrupt for a moment?
yes,
Would you feel more comfortable if we put this off till May 6th? I know there's a motion on the table,
I'm fine with that, if you'd like me to
but
rescind.
there are questions, and I know that Tim has to switch over to the next segment. We've got people waiting to come in and sit down. I just don't want to rush, and I know we're coming back later for closed anyway after our council meetings, so.
I'd rescind
Madam
my
Clerk?
motion for now.
Okay. What was that,
I'd
Deputy?
rescind my motion for now.
All those in favor?
Of what?
Deputy Mayor rescinding her motion to accept the first and second reading of the Code of Conduct bylaw. All those in favor?
I,
Okay, unanimously.
Coming back for this?
Mr. Watson?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just in terms of next steps, then what I might invite is any final recommendations or comments for change come to by email to the clerk and to my office, and then we can consolidate those last changes, make sure they're ready for you on May 6th in a green font.
Sounds colorful to me. All right. No, we haven't. Just checking here. So we do have policy review, but can we bring that up at our next meeting as well?
Okay, yep.
Okay. So I'm looking for,
I'll move to table item 4D until our May 6th committee of the whole meeting.
thank you. And then we have reports, which we won't deal with at this time as well. All those in favor of the motion made by Councillor Bigger? Just to table item 4D. Okay, motion carried unanimously. And then we have reports and motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Councillor Olson. All those in favor, you may raise your hand if you wish. Motion carried unanimously. Okay, we've got about 14, 12, 13 minutes before open, so, and then don't forget, folks, we're coming back for closed. Pardon me? Yes, yeah.
State what the local government said.